Hello everyone and welcome to Heather's Happy Stitches. I know what you're thinking. This is not how I normally anymore start my videos. And you are absolutely right. But this is not a normal video. As you know, or depending on how long you've been watching my channel, you knew that I started out, well, just know that I started out as a purely crochet channel. And I took on a big endeavor, the 365 days of Granny Squares challenge, and failed miserably. Because I burned myself out hardcore. Like, even still, and that was, coming up on 2 years. I'm still not, very passionate about crocheting. I still crochet things when my family asks for them. But other than that, I don't crochet for pleasure anymore because I burned myself out so hard. To alleviate, okay, to try and stave off burnout from diamond painting, I have been doing other things. I don't have really a affinity for coloring. I can't draw. Like, I've been watching some of the other ladies and they draw and blend, and I'm like, okie dokie. So I do other things to help alleviate that possibility of burnout, and it's mainly I paint D&D miniatures. As weird as that sounds. Me and my husband, we play D&D, and he only recently got back into it, and I hadn't had really good experiences doing D&D before, so I was really never into it. I had wanted to be, when I was like in high school, I had wanted to be in, play D&D because I heard some really good things about it. I played Magic in high school, and into my early 20s, I played a lot of Magic, the Gathering. It's a card game. But then Jeff got into it, and I told him that I had had some really bad experiences trying to play D&D, and then I didn't really want to start up again because I didn't want to have those bad experiences again and then just be completely turned off. But he persuaded me into going and with his friend as the dungeon master, and I liked it a lot. So Jeff wants to be the dungeon master, so he's been getting a lot of miniatures to help in his campaign, and he needed somebody, and he has zero talent for anything. So I told him I would paint him for him because I had done it before. I like painting minis, and I'm, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at it. But that's what I do to spend my time. I'm not a very good videographer painting them, because even though I wear glasses, seeing the details in the painting, I need to have them kind of close to my face. And I can't use a magnifying glass. I tried. I'd rather look around the magnifying glass than through the magnifying glass. So, slowly, I bring the miniature closer to my face, especially when I'm doing the details, and I lose the camera. So I apologize in advance for the lack of good videography, but hopefully you like it. Let me know in the comments below. But there you go. So hopefully you like it, and enjoy. So we have this painting kit with these colors, and as I use the colors I will let you know which colors I'm using. And for what I'm using them on. So we're going to start with some gray primer, and of course it's not going to focus. Gray primer. We're going to take a bigger brush because we're going to slather this primer all over. We're trying to do a light coat so that the primer doesn't puddle and obscure the little details that are in him. So now this top half is, or my brush is pretty well empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the parts that I've already primered to pick up any extra that may have already started to puddle, to kind of to thin it out and spread it around. Put the primer anywhere you're thinking about painting. Okay, let's set him down so that I can do the base. Just hold on to the little knife, the sword to keep him stable. And then if I pick up any primer on my fingers, the sword is the easiest place to go back over. So now we're going to wait 5 to 10 minutes for the primer to dry. And I'll be back when it's dry. Alright, so it's been a little longer than 10 minutes, but not by too much. So the next part we're going to do is we're going to paint the actual, the bones. There's not too much of it, so for that we are going to be using the Lawful White. And for this one I'm going to be using the starter brush that came with the paint set, because it's smaller and thinner than all of the other brushes I have. I do have a detail kit coming in the mail, but it's not going to be here until tomorrow. But I wanted to start this one now. Alright, so I'm not going to do his head right now because I hold on to his head. And if I paint his head while I'm painting the rest of it, and then start painting the rest of him, I mess up the top of his head. So I'll do his head last. So at this stage it's not a super big deal if you get some paint other places. Like as you go, you're going to want to be more and more careful about getting paint on your other colors. so I'm gonna let the black dry all the way, and then I'll go over him with some of this mithril silver. It's like a metallic color. I'll go over all of the little things and do the detail, and then I'll do his sword, and I'll go over all of his white to make him nice and white again before I dull him down, so that way I don't miss any over colors. I'm trying to think, maybe I'll dull him down with some of the primer gray, just to dull down his color just a little bit, not a ton, because I just need his bones to not look so pristine is all. And then I'll paint his head. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, it's not focusing, so I can't give you like super sweet detail. Alright, well, on his shoulder pads here, there are spikes. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a paper clip that I bent out of shape, dipping it into the paint, and then just like dabbing the paint onto the spikes and around the outside. Give it just a touch of depth. I don't think you guys will be able to see it. Now I'm going to use the same technique to get, oops, I'm going to use the same, can you see that? I'm going to use the same technique to get into the nooks and crannies of this guy's outfit, to just give it a little bit of a metallic sheen over top of it, because Jeff said that they needed to look dinged up and worn down, but even the most rusty, even super rusty metal has some luster to it. So I'm just putting a couple of details in some shiny places, just to kind of like accent that even though it's dulled and rusted out, it still has protection value. We don't want too much. Just enough to be like, I've been a skeleton for a long time, man. Man. I made the spikes pretty shiny because since it's such a small space, it wouldn't, it would be less likely to dull out. Oh, I didn't get any of that on camera. Of course not. Alright, so that's what he looks like right now. In the light you can see some of the spots of shimmer I put on him. But that's why I didn't get him, because my visual square was off. Alright. So he looks good. Now we must go back with the white. No, let's do his sword. Let's make his sword look shiny before we dull that up. Drying, let's put some detail on his sword hilt. now I'm gonna let all of him dry all the way. And then I'm gonna wash him all. I'm gonna do a wash over all of him. And I think I'm gonna do like a black wash or a shadow wash to dull all of him down so that none of his colors are super pristine. Like even the metallic bits that I put on his armor, I'm gonna wash down. So that way none of him looks pristine, none of him looks, because he's supposed to look beat up and dingy. So now that I got him looking pristine, I need to beat him up a little bit. So I'm gonna let him dry all the way, and then we're gonna beat him up. Alright, so it's time to start doing some wash. Because I don't have actual wash, what I have here is just a watercolor palette that I got from the Dollar Tree, the 99-cent store. And because the reason is because these colors wash out. Like if you've ever painted with these things, they're super washed out. And that way I don't have to not so much waste, but like use my like good colors to make a wash. So I just added a little bit of water to this. I'm gonna now let's see how it washes out, because I've never done this before. This is the first time I've done this, so we are going to experiment together. So let's start here on his shorts. Nope, not washed out enough. So I just dumped a bunch of water into the color palette. Clean him up a little bit. Attempt number 2. That's working much better. He's getting into the nooks and crannies of the shorts. I probably should have done brown or something on these shorts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just blot at him to pick up. Onto the breastplate, and I think I'm going to have to find a brown color. so I'm going to take some of this primer gray, because there isn't any gray on this, and I don't think the white, well, I mean, I could probably, this is going to be my tester guy. Jeff's just going to have to deal with it. Alright, so I mixed up some whitewash, and then this is the black wash that I was using. So I'm just going to mix them together and see if I can get like, see if I can get a good gray wash. That looks good. Something to dull the white and then enhance like the joints and things like that. I'm gonna need to adjust it. So we're going to do it kind of the same way. I'm going to do it like kind of like a gray rub. Like a dry rub. Alright, so he looks decently beat up. So now the last thing we need to do, or decently not pristine, I might need to beat him up a little bit more, depending on what Jeff thinks. But let's do the base. What kind of base do you want him on? This is black? Okay. So Jeff just wants the base black, so I can do that real quick. be back if I need to touch anything up. Jeff said he looked good, so now the last step is to super glue him onto the base. It came with this disc base here, so I'm just going to do a dab-a-do, a dab-a-do, a dab-a-glue. Come on, this is supposed to be a non... This is supposed to be a no clog system. Might be a little too much. My dab is a little big. There we go. And I will take a picture to see what he looks like at a couple of different angles so that you can get up close and personal with all of the detail. And then I will be spraying this with primer, and I will show you when I'm done with that too.